Brussels, Belgium, 1987. Central District, Friday afternoon. The Banque de Bruxelles stood tall on Rue de la Loi, its marble columns reflecting the pale autumn sunlight that filtered through the clouds. Inside, the air was cool, almost cold. The air conditioning hummed steadily, a low mechanical purr that filled the high-ceilinged space. Marble floors stretched from wall to wall, polished to a mirror shine, reflecting the ornate chandeliers hanging overhead. The sound of footsteps echoed softly, leather soles on stone, creating a rhythm of quiet commerce. It was 2:47 in the afternoon. The bank was busy but not crowded. Friday afternoon banking. People finishing their week's transactions before the weekend. Tellers worked behind thick glass partitions, counting bills with practiced efficiency. The scratch of pens on deposit slips. The soft beep of calculators. The rustle of papers being shuffled and sorted. Natural light poured through tall windows that lined the eastern wall, casting long rectangular shadows across the floor. Dust particles danced in the sunbeams, tiny specks floating lazily in the conditioned air. The smell was distinct. Paper money, leather briefcases, the faint chemical scent of cleaning products used on the marble, and underneath it all the metallic tang of coins. Jean-Claude Van Damme pushed through the heavy brass door. He was 30 years old, not famous yet. Not the global action star he would become. Just an actor, a martial artist, recently returned from Hong Kong where he'd been trying to break into film. Still fighting for recognition, still struggling, still dreaming. He wore a charcoal gray suit, well-fitted but not expensive. The jacket was buttoned. The pants pressed with a crisp line down the front. A black tie, simple knot. Black leather shoes, recently polished. Dark aviator sunglasses covered his eyes, reflecting the bank's interior in their curved lenses. In his right hand, he carried a brown leather portfolio containing bank documents, a deposit slip, cash from a recent commercial shoot. Money he needed to deposit before his 3:30 meeting with a producer who might give him his break. He walked across the marble floor. His footsteps made almost no sound. Light feet. Fighter's walk. Balanced, centered, aware of his body's position in space even when doing something as mundane as going to the bank. The queue for the tellers stretched along a velvet rope barrier. 6 people ahead of him, maybe a 10-minute wait. Van Damme removed his sunglasses, folding them carefully before sliding them into his inside jacket pocket. He blinked, adjusting to the interior light. His eyes, dark brown, began their automatic scan. Front entrance, heavy brass door with thick glass panel. Security lock would slow an exit. Side entrance, smaller, marked staff only, locked from inside. Windows, tall, ornate leaded glass, beautiful but old, 3 meters high, no way out. Security guard, one man, late 50s, gray uniform, slight paunch, holstered pistol on his right hip. Standard issue FN Browning high power, 15 rounds. The guard stood near the main entrance, arms crossed, eyes half closed. Bored. End of his shift approaching. Cameras, 4 visible. 1 covering the entrance, 2 covering the teller stations, 1 covering the manager's office door. Emergency exits, 2. Fire doors on the north and south walls. Alarmed, red signs above them. Van Damme wasn't paranoid. He was aware. 20 years of martial arts training had wired his brain differently. Situational awareness wasn't something he turned on. It was always running, a background program constantly processing his environment. Next, please. The line moved forward. 5 people ahead now. Around him, the sounds of a normal Friday afternoon. An elderly woman in a blue coat fumbled with her purse, counting out bills with arthritic fingers. A young couple in their 20s argued quietly in French about which account to use. A businessman in a pinstripe suit checked his watch repeatedly, impatient, places to be. A mother with a small child, the boy maybe 4 years old, playing with a toy car, making quiet engine sounds. Van Damme studied them without appearing to. Habit. Reading body language. The old woman, tired, struggling but determined. The couple, stressed, probably money problems. The businessman, type A personality, controlling, anxious. The mother, exhausted, patient, running thin, trying to keep her child quiet in a public space. Innocent people, going about their lives, unaware. The line shuffled forward again, 4 people ahead. Van Damme glanced at his watch, a modest Seiko, steel case, black face. 2:51, plenty of time. Outside, visible through the tall windows, Brussels street life continued. Cars passing, pedestrians walking. A tram rumbling past, its bell clanging. The ordinary rhythm of a European capital city going about its business. Then something caught his attention. A white Mercedes Sprinter van pulling up to the curb outside the bank, parking awkwardly half on the sidewalk. The engine left running, exhaust visible in the cool autumn air. Van Damme's eyes narrowed slightly. Strange. No parking there. Commercial vehicles only for loading. And it was Friday afternoon. No deliveries scheduled at Banques on Friday afternoon. The van sat there, engine running, windows tinted, no one getting out. Van Damme's heart rate didn't increase. His breathing didn't change, but something shifted in his awareness. A subtle recalibration, from passive observation to active assessment. The security guard noticed nothing. Still standing by the door, eyes glazed, thinking about dinner, about his weekend, about anything except his job. 2:52 p.m. Van Damme's muscles loosened imperceptibly. Shoulders dropped half an inch. Knees unlocked slightly. Weight balanced perfectly between both feet. Hands at his sides, relaxed but ready, not aggressive, just ready. The line moved again, 3 people ahead now. And then it happened. Bang! The front door exploded inward, brass hinges screaming. The heavy glass panel rattled in its frame. 4 men burst through. Black clothing, black boots, black ski masks covering their faces, leaving only eyes and mouths visible, gloved hands, military-style tactical gear. The first man was tall, maybe 6'3", broad shoulders, moving with aggressive confidence. In his hands, a Mossberg 500 pump-action shotgun, 12-gauge, black synthetic stock. The barrel swept across the room like a weapon of judgment. The second man was shorter, stockier, built like a rugby player, thick neck. In his hands, a sawed-off double-barrel shotgun. Brutal, close-range weapon, devastating at short distances. The third man was thin, wiry, quick movements, nervous energy. In his hands, a Browning high-power semi-automatic pistol, 9mm, 15-round magazine. The fourth man was the muscle, bodybuilder physique, arms like tree trunks. In his hands, a Smith & Wesson .357 Magnum revolver, 6 shots, each one capable of stopping a man permanently. 4 men. 4 guns, 14 civilians. The lead man raised his shotgun high, pumping it once. Shuck shuck. The sound echoed through the marble hall like a thunderclap, that distinctive, terrifying sound, metal on metal, a round chambering, death becoming ready. Everybody down, this is a robbery. His voice was harsh, commanding, used to being obeyed. Belgian accent, Dutch-speaking, Flemish maybe. Voice muffled slightly by the ski mask, but still clear, still absolutely clear. Screams erupted. The elderly woman dropped her purse. Bills scattered across the marble floor. The young couple dove to the ground, the man covering his girlfriend's body with his own. The businessman's briefcase hit the floor with a heavy thud. The mother grabbed her son, pulling him down, covering his head, whispering desperately, "SHHH, SHHH, be quiet, be quiet." Behind the glass, the tellers ducked below their counters, hitting silent alarms, hands shaking, hearts hammering. The security guard's hand moved toward his holster, training kicking in. Decades-old muscle memory trying to assert itself. Bang! The third man fired into the ceiling. A single shot, 9mm round punching through ornate plasterwork. Chunks of white plaster rained down like snow. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space, bouncing off marble walls, assaulting eardrums, leaving a ringing silence in its wake. Fourth man, the big one with the revolver, rushed forward with surprising speed for his size, 3 long strides. He swung his weapon like a club, crack. The steel frame of the .357 Magnum connected with the security guard's temple. The guard's eyes rolled back. His knees buckled. He collapsed like a puppet with cut strings, hitting the marble floor hard. Blood immediately began seeping from the gash on his temple, spreading in a dark red pool across the white stone. The child began crying. High-pitched. Terrified. The sound of innocence confronting violence for the first time. The lead man swung his shotgun toward the sound. I said down, 14 people on the floor now. Faces pressed to cold marble, arms over heads, bodies trembling, some crying, some praying, some in shock, unable to process what was happening. 14 people down, one man still standing. Jean-Claude Van Damme standing in the queue, fourth in line, standing perfectly still, not defiant, not aggressive, not challenging, just standing, hands at his sides, weight balanced, breathing steady and controlled. In through the nose, out through the mouth. The breathing pattern he'd learned from his Shotokan karate master when he was 12 years old. The breathing that calmed the nervous system, that kept the mind clear, that prepared the body for action. His face was calm, no fear visible, no anger, no panic, just a strange, almost meditative calm. His eyes moved, not his head, just his eyes, scanning, processing. 4 men, 4 weapons, all lethal, all loaded and ready. Shotgun, effective range 30 meters. Devastating at close range. Pump action, needs to chamber between shots, slight delay. Sawed-off shotgun, effective range 10 meters, wider spread, less accurate but more destructive, 2 shots only, then reload required. Semi-automatic pistol, effective range 50 meters, 15 rounds, fast follow-up shots, most versatile weapon. Revolver, effective range 25 meters, 6 shots, powerful, but slower to reload than semi-automatic. 14 hostages, all civilians, no training. Panicking, unpredictable, 2 exits. Main door now blocked by robbers, side door locked. Windows too high, fire exits alarmed, security guard down, bleeding, unconscious, cameras recording, police already being alerted by silent alarm. Response time 6 to 8 minutes in central Brussels on a Friday afternoon. All of this processed in less than 2 seconds. The lead man turned. His eyes visible through the ski mask, scanning the room for threats, for resistance, for problems. He saw Van Damme standing, alone, while everyone else cowered on the floor. "You, get down now." His voice was a roar, angry, authority being challenged. Van Damme didn't move. Instead, slowly, deliberately, he raised his left hand to his wrist. His fingers touched his watch, the modest Seiko with the black face. He pressed the side button. The watch face illuminated. Digital numbers appeared, 1453. Van Damme did the math. Silent alarm triggered approximately 30 seconds ago when the tellers ducked. Dispatch taking the call, 15 seconds. Nearest patrol unit 5 to 6 minutes away in Friday traffic, 6 minutes until help arrived. He lowered his hand slowly, reached into his inside jacket pocket. The robbers tensed, weapons swinging toward him. Van Damme pulled out his watch and placed it carefully in his pocket. The lead man's face twisted with rage, visible even through the ski mask. The muscles around his eyes tightening, his jaw clenching. "Are you deaf?" I said. "Get down." Van Damme's voice when he spoke was quiet, calm, almost conversational, with a slight French-Belgian accent, polite even. "I'm waiting for my turn at the teller." Silence. Complete, absolute silence. The elderly woman, face pressed to the marble, eyes wide with shock, stared at Van Damme like he was insane. The businessman curled into a ball, his expensive suit now dusty, thought, "This man is going to get us all killed." The mother tightened her grip on her son, whispering prayers in French. The lead robber stood frozen for a moment, disbelief. His brain trying to process what he just heard, trying to reconcile the words with the situation. Then rage, pure rage building like a wave. Your turn," he strode forward. Heavy boots on marble, thump, 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 each step echoing. The shotgun held across his chest, then raised, barrel pointing forward. 3 meters away, 2.5 meters, 2 meters, he stopped. The barrel of the Mossberg 500 was now pointing directly at Van Damme's face, close. So close Van Damme could see inside the barrel, could see the brass of the chambered shell, could smell the gun oil. "This is your turn." The barrel came forward, touched Van Damme's forehead. Cold steel against warm skin. Pressure, deliberate. The lead man leaning in, using the weapon to dominate, to intimidate, to break will. The second robber, the stocky one with the sawed-off, laughed. A cruel sound, muffled by his mask. "Boss, this one's crazy." The third robber, the thin, nervous one with the pistol, his gun sweeping left and right, covering the hostages. "Maybe he wants to die." The fourth robber, the big one with the .357 Magnum, began circling, moving to Van Damme's left, flanking, professional. Taking up a position where he could shoot, if necessary, without hitting his partners. His revolver was now aimed at Van Damme's ribs, center mass. The hammer cocked back, 6 pounds of trigger pressure away from firing. Van Damme's eyes remained on the lead man, not looking at the gun, looking at the eyes behind the ski mask. Brown eyes, bloodshot, dilated pupils, adrenaline, possibly drugs, definitely dangerous. Van Damme was measuring everything. Mossberg 500, pump action, 12 gauge, barrel touching my forehead. Too close. The physics don't work at this distance. If I move my head 6 inches, he can't track fast enough. The human reaction time is 0.25 seconds. Mine is 0.15. I have a 0.1 second advantage. His finger is on the trigger, pressure already applied. Maybe 2 pounds, needs 4 more to fire. His stance is aggressive but imbalanced. Weight forward, if I move him, he'll stumble. 20 years of training, thousands of hours, hundreds of disarm drills, against knives, against guns, against multiple attackers. This is why I trained, for this exact moment, when it matters, when it's real. The lead man's finger increased pressure on the trigger. Van Damme could see it, could read the micro-movements. Last chance, down, or I paint the wall with your brains. Van Damme's head tilted slightly, just a few degrees, not submission, assessment, looking at the man's eyes more directly. You're making a mistake. The words were soft, not threatening, not pleading, just stating a fact. The lead man's eyes widened slightly. WHAT mistake, you're unarmed. Van Damme's lips curved, the smallest hint of a smile, barely visible, more in the eyes than the mouth. Am I? Pause, heavy pause. The second robber shifted uncomfortably. Boss, something's wrong. The fourth robber, the big one, stopped circling. His revolver still aimed at Van Damme, but his body language uncertain. Who is this guy? The lead man was hesitating now. Something in Van Damme's absolute calm was penetrating, creating doubt, creating fear. Because the truly dangerous people don't threat. They don't posture, they don't need to, they just are. Van Damme's hands remained at his sides, not raised in surrender, not raised in defense, just hanging naturally, relaxed, but there was something about them, about the way they were positioned, about the readiness visible in every tendon. Wing Chun principle, use the opponent's force. Redirect, control, neutralize. The gun is just metal. The man holding it is the weak point. Target the man, not the weapon. The bank's antique clock on the wall ticked forward. 14:54. 5 minutes until patrol arrival. The hostages watched, terrified, uncomprehending, watching a man with a gun to his head speaking calmly, almost casually, as if discussing the weather. The lead man's finger increased pressure again on the trigger, almost at the breaking point, almost at the 4 pounds needed to fire. Last chance. Van Damme's smile widened, just slightly, his eyes steady, calm, almost gentle. Your move. 4 guns, 1 unarmed man, 14 hostages watching. And Jean-Claude Van Damme standing perfectly still, a shotgun barrel pressed to his forehead, waiting. The lead man's finger reached critical pressure. I'll count 2-2, Van Damme moved, not backward, forward, into the gun. His left hand came up in a blur, open palm strike, not hitting the man, hitting the barrel, striking it upward and to the left with explosive force. His right hand simultaneously grabbed the trigger guard area, his fingers wrapping around the man's trigger finger, locking it, preventing it from completing its pull. 1/4 of a second. That's how long the entire motion took. The lead man's brain was still processing the word 2 when his shotgun was no longer pointing at Van Damme's head. He pulled the trigger anyway. Reflex. Panic. Boom. The Mossberg fired, but the barrel was pointing 45 degrees up and left. The 12-gauge shell hit the ceiling. Ornate plasterwork exploded. Chunks of white plaster, bits of wood, dust, and debris rained down like a miniature avalanche. Van Damme was already spinning, using the shotgun as a pivot point. His right elbow came around in a tight arc. Years of Muay Thai training, elbow strikes, 8 weapons of the body, fists, elbows, knees, shins. The elbow connected with the lead man's jaw, crack, the sound of bone on bone. The impact snapped the man's head sideways, his ski mask shifted, his eyes glazed, consciousness flickering. Van Damme continued the spin, both hands on the shotgun now. A sharp twisting motion, wrist lock, the lead man's grip broke. Pain shooting up his arm, the Mossberg came free. 2 seconds. From gun to head to lead man disarmed, 2 seconds. The second robber reacted, the stocky one with the sawed-off shotgun, raising it, barrel swinging toward Van Damme. Van Damme grabbed the dazed leader by the shoulders, spun him around, human shield. The second robber's finger froze on the trigger, couldn't shoot, would hit his boss. The third robber, the thin, nervous one, circled right, his Browning high-power pistol up, looking for an angle. The fourth robber, the big one, circled left, his .357 Magnum tracking Van Damme, also looking for a clear shot. Van Damme held the Mossberg horizontally, like a staff, like a bow staff from his karate training, a weapon of distance and control, hostages everywhere on the floor. The robbers couldn't fire without risk of hitting civilians. Van Damme shoved the leader hard. Forward, into the second robber, they collided, stumbling. The second robber's sawed-off swinging wide. The third robber fired, bang, bang, 2 shots, 9mm rounds. Van Damme dropped, controlled fall, shoulder roll. The bullets passed through the space where his torso had been. Impact on the marble wall behind, chips of stone flying. He came up from the roll. The Mossberg stock swinging in a horizontal arc. Strike to the wrist. Crack. The third robber's radius bone fractured. The Browning clattered across the marble floor. The man screamed, high-pitched, pain overriding training. Van Damme continued the motion. The shotgun barrel came up, placed against the third robber's temple. Don't move. The third robber froze, eyes wide, feeling cold steel against his head, understanding instantly. Down. The third robber dropped to his knees, then flat, arms spread, out of the fight. The fourth robber fired, bang, bang, bang. 3 shots from the .357 Magnum, massive rounds, each one capable of punching through a car door. Van Damme was already moving. Behind a marble pillar, the pillar was decorative but solid, 2 feet thick. The bullets hit, crack, 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 chips of marble exploding, dust in the air, but the pillar held. The fourth robber ejected spent casings, fumbling for a speed loader, 6 more rounds. Come out, Van Damme's voice from behind the pillar, you come here. The fourth robber approached, slowly, revolver reloaded now, hammer back. He rounded the corner. The shotgun barrel jabbed forward, lightning fast, struck the revolver, knocked it upward. The fourth robber fired reflexively. Bang! The bullet hit the ceiling. The barrel continued its motion to the throat, controlled strike, not full force, just enough. The fourth robber's windpipe compressed. He made a choking sound, dropped the revolver, both hands going to his throat. Van Damme's foot swept out. Low sweep kick, ankle strike. The big man's legs went out from under him. He crashed to the marble floor. Shotgun stock came down, precise, to the temple. The fourth robber's eyes rolled back, unconscious. 4 seconds had passed since the third robber was neutralized. The second robber and the leader had recovered. Both held shotguns now. Both aimed at Van Damme 20 feet away, clear sight lines. The leader's jaw was already swelling, purple bruise forming, blood trickling from his mouth. But his eyes were focused, angry, murderous. You're dead, Van Damme stood, the Mossberg in his hands, but not aimed at them. Aimed at the ceiling. Both robbers hesitated. Van Damme looked down deliberately at the floor. They followed his gaze, hostages all around on the floor between Van Damme and the robbers in the line of fire. Van Damme looked back up, met the leader's eyes. You shoot, you hit them. The second robber, voice uncertain. You can't shoot either. Van Damme's smile was cold now, all gentleness gone. I don't need to. He dropped the shotgun. It clattered on the marble, loud in the silence. His hands came up. Empty, open palms, fighter's stance, weight balanced, knees bent. Come on. The second robber looked at the leader. The leader looked at Van Damme, at his stance, at his readiness. Something passed through the leader's eyes, uncertainty, fear, but pride wouldn't let him back down, not in front of his crew, not in front of hostages, not after being humiliated. He charged, shotgun held like a club, raised high. The second robber followed, both attacking. Van Damme waited, still, calm, breathing controlled. The leader swung, wild, overhead strike, all power, no technique. Van Damme sidestepped 6 inches, minimal movement, maximum efficiency. His hands caught the shotgun barrel, pulled, using the leader's momentum against him. His knee came up, into the leader's stomach, into the solar plexus. Crack, not the sound of impact, the sound of ribs fracturing. The leader's eyes bulged, his mouth opened, vomit rising. He collapsed forward, the shotgun falling from his hands. The second robber swung at Van Damme's head. Horizontal swing, trying to take his head off. Van Damme ducked. The shotgun passed over him. He could feel the air displacement. His legs swept out. Low kick to the second robber's knee. Lateral strike. Crack. Arm was wet. Ligaments tearing. The anterior cruciate ligament, the medial collateral ligament, the meniscus, all going at once. The second robber's leg bent sideways at an angle legs aren't meant to bend. He screamed, a sound of pure agony, falling, clutching his destroyed knee. Van Damme caught the shotgun before it hit the ground, placed it gently on the teller counter. The second robber was on the ground, crying, "Please, please." Van Damme's voice was quiet. "Stay down." 4 robbers down. The leader, unconscious, lying in a pool of his own vomit, fractured ribs, possible internal bleeding, breathing labored. The second robber, conscious, crying, knee destroyed, multiple ligament tears, would require surgery, months of physical therapy, would never walk normally again. The third robber, unconscious, wrist broken, compound fracture, radius and ulna both fractured at unnatural angles, would need pins and plates. The fourth robber, unconscious, throat bruised, windpipe partially collapsed. Breathing but shallow, would need medical intervention. 4 guns on the floor, scattered, harmless now. Van Damme straightened, rolled his shoulders, adjusted his tie, brushed dust from his suit jacket. He looked down at himself. The gray suit was dirty, plastered dust, some blood spatter, but intact. He checked his watch. 14:57, 3 minutes. From first move to last man down, 3 minutes. 4 armed robbers, multiple weapons, 14 hostages. 0 shots fired by Van Damme. 0 hostages injured. The hostages began sitting up, slowly, staring at Van Damme with expressions ranging from shock to disbelief to something approaching awe. The child, the little boy who'd been crying, pulled away from his mother. His face was tear-streaked, but his eyes were wide. "Mommy, who is that?" The mother's voice was barely a whisper. I don't know." The elderly woman was standing now, shaking, her blue coat dirty from the marble floor. Her eyes were wet. You saved us." Van Damme turned to her. His face softened, a small, genuine smile. "You're safe now." Outside, sirens getting louder, multiple vehicles, police, ambulances, fire trucks, the cavalry arriving, screech of tires, slamming doors, boots on pavement. "Police, nobody move." 6 officers burst through the front door, pistols drawn, FN Browning high powers, standard issue, all aimed forward, scanning for threats. Lead officer was a captain. 45 years old, 20 years on the force, gray at the temples, hard eyes. He'd seen everything except this. He stopped dead. His pistol lowered slowly. 4 men on the ground, 1 unconscious in vomit, 1 crying and holding his knee, 2 unconscious. 4 weapons scattered on the marble, tagged by position. 14 civilians sitting up, shaken but alive, no visible injuries. 1 man standing, wearing a dirty gray suit, calm, hands visible at his sides. The captain's mouth opened, closed, opened again. What happened here?" Van Damme's voice was level, factual. "Attempted robbery neutralized." The captain stared at the robbers, at the weapons, back at Van Damme. "You did this, all of them?" Van Damme, self-defense. "They had 14 hostages." The captain looked around, at the hostages, at the destruction, plaster debris. Bullet holes in the ceiling and walls, blood on the floor. "With what weapons?" Van Damme. "None, just training." Silence. The other officers had moved in now, checking the robbers, calling for ambulances, securing weapons. 1 officer knelt by the second robber, the one with the destroyed knee. "This man needs immediate medical attention, severe trauma to the knee joint." Another officer by the third robber, compound fracture, wrist, bone exposed. Another by the fourth, possible crushed windpipe. Breathing compromised. Another by the leader, unconscious, multiple fractured ribs, vomiting, possible concussion. The weapons were being collected, evidence bags tagged, photographed, 4 guns, all loaded, none fired by Van Damme, only fired by the robbers themselves. A paramedic rushed to the security guard. The old man was groaning, coming around, blood matted in his hair, confused. What happened?" Paramedic. "You're okay, head trauma, we're taking you to the hospital." Captain approached Van Damme, slowly, studying him. "Mr. Van Damme, Jean-Claude Van Damme. Mr. Van Damme, I'm going to need a full statement." Van Damme nodded. "Of course. Walk me through it." Van Damme's voice was calm, methodical. 4 men, armed robbery. They incapacitated the security guard, threatened 14 hostages. The lead man put his shotgun to my head, told me to get down. I disarmed him, disabled the others. The captain looked at the scene. 4 men, severe injuries. All disabled. Disabled. Van Damme, they're alive. A detective arrived, plainclothes, notebook out. He walked around the scene, examining the positions, the blood, the weapons, the damage. He stopped in front of Van Damme. You did this barehanded, Van Damme. I used their weapons as tools, not as firearms. I never fired a shot. The detective never fired, Van Damme. 14 hostages, too dangerous. The hostages were being interviewed now, giving statements, their voices overlapping. Elderly woman, he moved like lightning, 2 seconds, the gun was just gone. Young man, he used their own weapons against them like sticks, never shot anyone. Mother, tears streaming. My daughter, she could have died, he saved us. Businessman, I thought he was insane, thought he'd get us killed, but I've never seen anything like it. The captain's expression was changing, from skepticism to something approaching respect. 4 armed men, 1 unarmed man, the math said you'd lose. Van Damme, math doesn't account for training. The captain, what kind of training? Van Damme, 20 years, every day, multiple disciplines, Shotokan karate, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, close quarters combat, weapon disarms, not for sport, for reality. The detective, they'll need months of recovery. Van Damme, they'll recover. I could have killed them. I didn't. I controlled every strike, targeted non-lethal areas, disabling but not fatal. The captain, why didn't you just comply? Get on the floor like everyone else. Van Damme paused, considered the question. Because they hurt the security guard, because they were panicked, desperate. State someone moves wrong, they shoot, people die. I had training, I had responsibility, I could stop it, so I did. Outside, the scene was chaos. News vans, cameras, reporters, microphones. The captain shook his head. You'll be on every news channel by tonight. Van Damme's slight smile. I just came to make a deposit. He checked his watch again. 15:15. I still need to complete that transaction. The captain stared at him. You're serious? Van Damme, I came here for a transaction. The money is still in my portfolio. I'd like to complete my business. He walked to the teller window, the same window where he'd been standing in line. The same teller, a young woman, early 20s. Her hands were shaking, her mascara smudged from crying. Van Damme pulled the deposit slip from his inside jacket pocket, placed it on the counter, slid it through the gap under the bulletproof glass. The teller stared at him. Mr. Van Damme, Van Damme's voice was gentle. Please. Just process the deposit, she laughed. A nervous, almost hysterical sound. Her hands fumbled with the slip, the stamp, the keyboard. Her word. A receipt printed out, she pushed it through the gap. All done. Van Damme took the receipt, folded it carefully, placed it in his wallet. Thank you, have a good weekend. The officers were watching, the hostages were watching, everyone was watching. The captain, that's it, Van Damme, my transaction is complete. You have the evidence, you have witnesses. If you need additional information, you know where to find me. He started walking toward the exit. The hostages stood, slowly, then faster. Applause starting quietly, then building, louder, hands clapping, some crying, some laughing with relief. Gratitude, raw, honest gratitude. Van Damme paused, turned, a slight bow. You're safe, that's what matters. He pushed through the brass door, into the Brussels afternoon, outside, autumn sunlight, cool air, cameras, microphones thrust forward. Mr. Van Damme, how did you do it? Van Damme, training. Were you scared? Van Damme, fear is natural, control is learned. What would you say to those men? Van Damme paused, considered. They picked the wrong bank, wrong day. A pause, but more than that, strength isn't about weapons, it's about discipline. They had 4 guns, I had 20 years, guess which one mattered more? He walked into the crowd, disappearing. Behind him, 4 men being loaded into ambulances. 14 saved lives, 1 completed bank transaction. Years earlier, Brussels, a dojo in the Ixelles district. Young Van Damme, 19 years old. Training with his Shotokan master, Himans. Weapon disarm, knife first. Van Damme practicing, again, the motion becoming reflex. Now pistol, different leverage, different angle, but same principle, redirect, control, disarm. Now shotgun, longer weapon, more reach, but also more leverage points. Van Damme adjusting, learning, drilling. No, again, you must control the barrel first, not the man, the barrel. If you control where the weapon points, you control death itself. Drilling, hundreds of repetitions, thousands, multiple attackers. Van Damme against 3 training partners, all armed with rubber training weapons, learning to use their positions against each other, learning to create human shields, learning to move so they couldn't get clear shots. Use their weapons, take one weapon, use it against the others but not to kill, to control. 20 years of this, building muscle memory, building reflexes faster than thought, so that when the moment came, when it was real, when it mattered, the body would know what to do. Next day, Saturday morning, front page of Le Soir, Belgium's major newspaper. Headline, Jean-Claude Van Damme, STOPS bank robbery. Subheadline, unarmed martial artist defeats 4 gunmen. No hostages injured. Photo, Van Damme leaving the bank, calm expression, dirty suit, surrounded by police. Photo, the robbers on stretchers, faces pixelated but the devastation visible. Inside spread witness accounts, like watching a movie except it was real. I've never seen a human being move that fast. He could have killed them, he chose not to. Belgian television, every news channel, the story playing on loop. Security camera footage, released by police. Grainy but clear enough. The disarm, slowed down, 2 seconds from shotgun to head to leader disarmed. Textbook technique, a police weapons expert commented. Perfect execution under pressure, radio interviews. The hero of Brussels, 3 weeks later, a television studio, primetime interview show. Van Damme sitting across from the host, wearing a clean suit now, blue, well-tailored. Host, let's talk about what happened. 4 guns, 14 civilians, you're unarmed. What's going through your mind? Van Damme, I'm thinking if shooting starts, people die. I have training, maybe I can prevent that. Host, but you could have been killed. Van Damme, yes, but I had 20 years of training. The shotgun was touching my forehead. At that distance, physics is on my side. He can't track my movement fast enough. I didn't think about it. I just moved. Muscle memory. Host, you make it sound simple. Van Damme smiled. No, not simple. You practice a technique 10,000 times. Until it's not technique anymore. It's just what your body does. That's the difference between knowing something and being able to do it under pressure. Host, what if there had been 5 robbers? 6, Van Damme. Then maybe I lose. I'm not a superhero. I'm a human being with training. That day with those 4 men in that situation, I had advantages, speed, training, experience. But I don't pretend I could handle any situation. There are limits. Host, you train for this, for real violence. Van Damme. Most people train for tournaments, for trophies, for sport. I respect that, but I train for survival. When your life is on the line, technique must be perfect. There's no referee, no second chance, so yes, I train for reality. Today, decades later, self-defense courses worldwide. The Van Damme bank incident is taught as a case study. Notice how he doesn't escalate, he de-escalates, removes weapons, controls space, minimizes harm. This is the gold standard of civilian self-defense. Video analysis, thousands of views, comments from martial artists, military personnel, law enforcement, still learning from this. The speed is superhuman. The control is what impresses me. He could have killed all 4. Chose not to. Police training manuals, Wing Chun techniques, close quarters weapon disarms. Inspired by the 1987 Brussels incident. Banque de Bruxelles. Rue de la Loi still operating, a brass plaque on the marble wall, polished, official. On this site, October 16, 1987, Jean-Claude Van Damme prevented an armed robbery, 14 lives saved, non-lethal resolution. Tourists take photos. Bank employees tell the story to new hires. This actually happened. Right here. The question everyone asks, could anyone else have done it? Martial arts experts. With that level of training, possibly, but Van Damme had 5 things. 1. 20 years of mastery in multiple disciplines. 2. Absolute calm under pressure. 3. Tactical awareness. 4. Superhuman speed. 5. The will to act. Most people have 1, maybe 2 of those. Van Damme had all 5, that's why he's alive. That's why the hostages are alive. Van Damme himself in a later interview. People say I was lucky. Lucky the gun didn't fire during the disarm. Lucky I wasn't shot, but I don't believe in luck, I believe in preparation. I prepared for 20 years. When the moment came, I was ready. Don't wait for the moment to prepare, be prepared before the moment arrives. Then when it comes, you'll know what to do. 4 guns, 1 unarmed man, 14 saved lives, 0 bullets fired by Jean-Claude Van Damme. Because he didn't need bullets. He had 20 years, and 20 years of preparation.